and welcome to this podcast. No, it's not a podcast. It's a live stream. It's a live stream about Carlos Sainz. So let me show you my pretty face. There we are. Uh-oh, my phone is beeping. Hello, everybody. Hello, Aldo Rain. Hello, Wheel Sports. Hello, Samantha. Wheel Sports starts off nicely saying Norris is better than Verstappen. Okay. Well, that's not the topic today. We'll save that one for another occasion. And there's Gentilis. I'm not allowed to call you Richard anymore, so because it's confusing for some of the subscribers. Yeah. So what I've got prepared is I have an old video that I made about Carlos Sainz. It's a video about Carlos Sainz and the reasons why he should go to Red Bull. Now, you might say, why is that still relevant? Well, there's a lot of parts about the history of Carlos Sainz and just stuff about Carlos Sainz, why he's so good, that are still actual. And I think if you watch the video with me and you turn Red Bull into Williams, then the video is accurate again. So Jason says, I know, but I wanted to wind you up. Yeah, I'm very easy to wind up. It's yeah, I know the reason why I'm so easy to wind up, but I'll tell you later. So yeah, here's the media source. So I don't know if I should get started straight away or if there's more people coming. Yeah, I might as well get started. So people, be warned. This video turn Red Bull into Williams and the video is accurate again until pretty much the end. But I'll stop it before it gets too weird. Yes, leave a like. That was a bit of a dig. I always do that. I have a little dig at Lewis Hamilton. I could probably do a whole live stream about. Yeah, there's supposed to be sound. That's a good one, Samantha. Media source, advanced properties. Okay. Hello team is Racing is the most superior choice by far out of all the teams he can choose from, and the reason is something you most definitely didn't expect. Is there sound now? Because I just changed the settings. Yes. Thank you, Samantha, honey. Sweetheart. Okay, let's start over again. The most wanted free agent in the Formula 1 paddock is Carlos Sainz. Teams are practically begging for him to join their outfit as he is a very fast and reliable driver. Oracle Red Bull Racing is the most superior choice by far out of all the teams he can choose from, and the reason is something you most definitely didn't expect. I'll reveal exactly why toward the end of this video. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. Carlos Sainz is 29 years old and found himself without a seat for 2025, because Scuderia Ferrari made Lewis Hamilton's dream come true to be the best paid driver on the grid again. And driving for the Maranello team is something that a lot of F1 drivers want to do, of course. Unfortunately, this... See, that was Sebastian Vettel saying, everybody's a Ferrari fan, even if you're not a Ferrari fan. I love that quote. Left a great driver like the 3-time race winner is in an awkward situation where he doesn't know where he'll be in 2025. Luckily for him, he's a confident man and there are plenty of options. Throughout his career, Carlos Sainz hasn't been afraid to move around from team to team. From Toro Rosso to Renault, from Renault to McLaren, from McLaren to Ferrari, and if it was up to me, from Ferrari to Red Bull. Yeah, so that should be from Ferrari to Williams. It's unbelievable that a driver as young as he is has gone through 4 teams, and this is the first time that he was actually let go in at Ferrari. You know, McLaren he left to go to Ferrari, then Renault he left because he wanted... Oh no! No, Renault let him go for Ricciardo. Or am I getting confused now? Maybe somebody in the chat knows. But he left Toro Rosso on his own account because Max was in the first seat and that just didn't work together. So anyway, let's continue. Started scoring podiums in his time with McLaren. This always went a little bit under the radar as it involved an off-podium celebration because he earned his 3rd place after penalties were applied after the race. In the seasons with Ferrari, he managed 3 wins, which may not be a lot, but it is as many as the star driver teammate Charles Leclerc has in the same period. A period where Ferrari wasn't the strongest car and had to beat the almighty Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing. He impressed everyone with his strategic knowledge during the races and his conviction to implement it. So it's safe to say his stock is high. Every F1 YouTuber posted a video saying Sainz is underrated, something I already did last season. I'm not saying that I'm smarter and better than those YouTubers, but in the end, I'm smarter and better than those YouTubers. Maybe, yeah, I don't see any lies here. So maybe this video will be made by them in a couple of months too. Who knows? I'm a pragmatic person, so I usually go for the easiest solution in solving the silly season in Formula 1. The first team that has a big gap to fill is Mercedes. They lost Hamilton and a driver swap would make sense. I'd say that Sainz's performance is pretty much on par with Hamilton's the last couple of seasons. And Sainz even won races, which Hamilton didn't. He's easy to get along with, so I see no bother with George Russell. I have more faith in the Mercedes strategist, to be honest, and I feel he would do a good job proper. Mercedes isn't the team they were 3 years ago, but still, if finishing P2 and P3 in the standings is bad, then what the hell does it look like when they up their game again? Well, we've seen that from 2014 till 2021, which was a pretty dominant display, and this could happen again. The reason why I don't see Sainz going to Mercedes is because Kimi Antonelli is waiting for a chance. The sound of the video is ahead, or the video is ahead, but anyway, just listen. Wolff has been very vocal about ensuring that what happened with Max Verstappen doesn't happen with Antonelli. If you wonder what happened there, Max Verstappen chose Red Bull in 2015 because they put him in a seat straight away, whereas Wolff couldn't give Verstappen a seat, not even in the customer teams Toto Wolff has shares in. So if Antonelli does a decent job in F2, he might get dropped into the Mercedes team right off the bat. And that's something I'm still hoping for, you know? Like, Mercedes is not going to be a title contender, not until 2026. And they've never been risk takers. So it would be really nice to see Mercedes take that kind of risk and put that youngster in and let him make his mistakes for 25 and 26 and then be a top driver in 2027 or something. You know, that would be so cool. I would love to see that, to be honest. I have this theory that if a young driver is good, it's best to give him a good car too. I'd hate to see him struggle like George Russell had to do in Williams for 3 years. For all I know, the Mercedes package might be easier to drive than a Williams package. If you crash the W16, at least there's a spare chassis available. Anyway, enough about Mercedes. Another very popular opinion is that he'll move to Sauber before it becomes the Audi works team. Enough has been said about the ties between Audi and Carlos Sainz's father, and I think it's a great fit to have such an experienced driver in a new team. Audi is part of the Volkswagen Group, and this massive company is determined to make it into Formula 1 as they already established itself in other motorsport. When Audi does something, they do it well. However, Sainz will have to sit through a year at that shitty stake team before it turns into the German powerhouse that is Audi. That would be a big waste of time, especially when you're 30. Joe and... Yeah, and there's another thing I want to add. Sorry for interrupting you, Wimbo. There's no guarantee that Audi is going to be on top of things. Like, we had Haas coming in a few 5-6 years ago, and they finished 5th in the constructors battle 1 year, and the rest of the time they were completely crap. Now, Audi is a manufacturer, but we've seen manufacturers in the past as well. Like Toyota tried it for 9 years, and they gave up with their tail between their legs, spending $1 billion and not getting anywhere. So like being a constructor doesn't guarantee that you are competitive straight away, you know? It's not that easy. It's probably one of the reasons why the FIA is being so awkward with Andretti as well, because, you know, they wanted to drive with an Alpine or with a Renault engine, and they're making all this noise about how great they're going to be, but yeah, chances are that a team like Andretti coming in would be as competitive as Haas and Stake, and it's not really what F1 is looking for. You know, the biggest battle is going on at the front. If you see qualifying today, with teams spread out over a few tenths, you know. So that's what F1 is looking for, and not a team that's going to be 2 seconds slower. Okay, continue. Bottas are very decent drivers, but it's very hard to show anything in a team that has no ambition yet. Another option is Aston Martin, in case Alonso leaves. A Spaniard for a Spaniard isn't a bad deal, I'd say. If Lawrence Stroll lets go of his son Lance, then it could be 2 Spanish drivers. That's quite handy in the communication. How do you say Fernando is intimidating me in Spanish?
Fernando me está intimidando.
Fernando está me intimidando. I'm sure Aston Martin and Stroll are going places with everything that has been organized so far, but it will take time. I don't think Sainz wants to be a seat warmer until Lawrence Stroll locks in that superstar driver he allegedly has been eyeing up. I'm of course talking about the Verstappen Newey rumor that has been going around. So all these teams are possibilities. Yeah, so Sainz to Aston Martin, that would be a cool option. I read today that you know, Stroll's going to be confirmed soon. Now, I don't know why all of a sudden... I don't know why all of a sudden Lance Stroll needs to be confirmed, because they haven't done that all the previous years. But it's probably because of the critique that's been coming about Stroll just being not good enough for F1, and yeah, people complaining that his seat is guaranteed and he doesn't have to work for it. So now Aston Martin is pretending to extend his contract after consideration, which is bullshit. But yeah, it would be awesome if Lawrence Stroll would just say, "Son, I'm very angry. You're not good enough. Go play tennis. And I'm putting Carlos Sainz in the seat." And And then especially if they get Adrian Newey, Aston Martin could be a top team in a few years, because they have been disappointing after that brilliant start of 2023. You know, they weren't very fast today either. So I see there's some questions. Gentili says, will Alpine be an option if they kick out Ocon? Well, they have kicked out Ocon. But I think with everything that's going on at Alpine, like, anybody with quality has left there. Alonso, Piastri, Prost. Ocon is leaving now, even though he was better than Gasly, although he didn't score more points last season, but there were reasons for that. And Richard says, Fernando está muy rápido. Yes, he is very fast. So, yeah, I'd love to see Carlos Sainz in Aston Martin, but seeing with Fernando already being confirmed and Stroll about to be confirmed, yeah, that's not going to happen. So see what else I've got in line. But there are also a few other unlikely options. He could start at the RB sister team, but I doubt he wants to go through that again. Haas, Williams and Alpine all have drivers out of contract next season, but I don't think he'll even consider them, as they are all huge downgrades with a lot less to look forward to in the future. The obvious... Yeah, see, I disagree here with myself. With the teams that are available now, which are Stake, Alpine and Williams, I think Williams with James Vowles at the helm of it is the best choice. Like last year, Williams has turned over the whole system of keeping track of all their parts, because they used to do that on Excel sheets, but they have bought a computer system to sort all that out now. They've got Alex Albon, which is a really good driver. They've hired some good people, and they're ambitious again. With the sponsors they're having and with the cost cap in place, the gaps are getting smaller. So today was the first time that they were actually really bad in qualifying, and that's probably it probably has to do with the wind in Spain, because I've heard that the car is still pretty draggy and it's still very sensitive to wind. But yeah, Albon was nowhere. I was also very disappointed with the RB team, with the Visa card thingy team, as we from Wheel Sports call it nowadays. Williams I think is the best choice for Sainz looking in the future. For next year, it's a better choice than Stake. And for future reference, I think the Williams car with a Mercedes engine is a safer bet than the Audi car with an Audi engine. But that's just my guess. So let's see what else I say in this video. The reason for Sainz to go to Red Bull is because they have the fastest package, and every driver wants that. Another reason is that he knows the people, as he was in the junior program and Toro Rosso for a long time. Another great plus is that he gets along with Max Verstappen really well. It's the fathers that... Oh yeah, I'm still going on about Red Bull here. Well, I'm just going to finish it, because maybe Red Bull sacks Perez and then Sainz can still drive there. Okay? So just watch this. Did some meddling in the background, but the boys were teenagers then. Carlos Sainz Sr. and Jos Verstappen already know each other well, as they are both still racing in rally cars, and those grown-up sons. I love Jos, and I'm not ashamed to say it. need little guidance anymore. Now, one of the reasons why people say Sainz won't go to Red Bull is because Max Verstappen is supposed to be afraid of Sainz joining and he doesn't want competition. It would cause friction in the team and such. I strongly disagree. Verstappen will... Yeah, I changed my mind on this a little bit. Max Verstappen, when Perez was... his contract was extended, Max Verstappen said that he doesn't want to change the team because he wants things to calm down. And so far, the cooperation between the two drivers has really worked. So in a sense, he doesn't want to shake that up. And getting a feisty Spaniard in that seat would shake things up. And that's something he doesn't need. I also think that Verstappen doesn't care about the constructors title as much. He just wants to win the driver's title. And yeah, I think Perez realizes that he still has that seat thanks to Max. And who would have thought that after Brazil 2022, when Max didn't give up his position to let Perez score 2 more points, that it would be actually Max that made sure that Perez gets extended all these years. I don't think people in Mexico realize that you know, the Max is responsible for Perez still having that seat at Red Bull. So yeah, Max, he's not afraid, but why look for the trouble, you know? He said that with all the great drivers, the system of having a great driver and a wingman has always worked. Hamilton had his best results with Bottas beside him. Schumacher had best results with either Eddie Irvine or Barrichello beside him. And if you look at Vettel and Webber, there was a lot of problems between them. If you look at Hamilton and Rosberg, there was a lot of problems between them. And, you know, if up front you can prevent those problems, then, yeah, you know, as a driver, I would say the same thing. You know, never change a winning team, even if only half of the team is winning. Okay, let's go back to the video. Have Sainz closer in quali and races compared to Perez. I'm sure of that. Max might even lose a race or two on merit to Sainz. And that would be great actually. But the biggest reason why Sainz 100% without any single bit of doubt should go to Red Bull is to keep Charles Leclerc at bay. If Ferrari is closer to Red Bull again next season, then the positions Perez finishes and qualifies in isn't enough anymore. The buffer that is needed in a close championship battle isn't provided enough over a whole season by Perez, and I think Sainz will do a much better job at that. If you take into account how many points the man from Madrid lost last season due to a difficult to drive car, you'd see him higher in the standings. Then there was the Ferrari strategy and the horrible penalty he received in Las Vegas after his car was destroyed by a drain cover and he had a 10th place grid drop for replacing things on the car. We can safely conclude that he is a very consistent, rapid driver. Leclerc will win races too, and it's important that if Verstappen doesn't win, Leclerc doesn't win either. With every 1-2 finish of the Red Bull duo, the gap in the constructors and the driver standings grows. Max Verstappen... Well, this is something I still really stand by. Like tomorrow, it's going to be Max with Hamilton behind him and Norris in front of him. As for strategy, now it's all different teams in the top 5. So in this case, you know, it's not like they're gonna... They're all pretty much on their own. But sometimes you have to deal with 2 drivers from another team. And they can keep one of them behind to slow a driver down while the other one pits and then does the undercut. You know? So as for strategy, with Perez never being there, Red Bull never has the option to do something with Perez. You know, Max is always on his own. And I was thinking with a stronger teammate beside Max, if you have a driver that can qualify high as well, then at least you have two drivers you can have a strategy with. And you can hold the driver up, or, sometimes a driver uh, behind Max has a 20-second gap to do an extra pit stop and still fastest lap. That sort of stuff. And that's impossible if you have the second driver driving there in P4 or P5. Whereas now, Perez is always in P12 or something. That's where he's going to be starting tomorrow. Okay, well, let's finish this video off, and then I'll just chat a little. Verstappen did most of the work in his 3 championships alone, as Checo struggled a lot with the car. This was fine, as Verstappen scored enough points to secure the constructors on his own in 2023. This won't happen in 2025, with smaller margins between the top drivers. It's of great importance to have 2 drivers fighting at the front at all time if the fight is this close. I think Carlos Sainz is the ideal choice for that reason, and that's why I think Red Bull Racing is the superior choice for Sainz to race in 2025. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. Take care now. Doei doei. Well, I could say one thing. If I came across my own channel and I wasn't subscribed, I would definitely subscribe. I would even become a paying member, honestly. So, Wheelsport says, Perez is better than Bottas. Yeah, I agree. Not in qualifying, though. No. But, seeing that Perez won a race in a Racing Point, which was the pink Mercedes, after a year where Bottas didn't win any races in the black Mercedes, or was it a grey Mercedes then? We can conclude that Perez is better than Bottas. In my latest video, I have Bottas retiring from F1, together with Magnussen and Logan Sargent. I think out of those 3, I have at least one right. So, let's have a look at Carlos Sainz's season so far. Yes? His results were, and I've written them down, a DNF in Canada. Now, that wasn't his best race. We can just... That one doesn't count. Yeah? Then a P5 in Italy. A P5 in Miami. A P5 in China. And then you think, okay, he seems to like P5. But no, he had a P3 in China. China. And he had a P1. He won the race in Australia. That's because Max DNF'd, but anyway. And he had a P3 in Bahrain. So overall, 3 podiums, one of them a win. That's not bad going. And like I said, you don't hire Carlos Sainz to be the team leader, to be the world champion. But you can hire him for the development of the car, to have solid, like proper solid results. He can squeeze a win by inventing his own strategies. He'll say to his strategists and his engineer, stop inventing, and then he does it himself. So yeah, he's just an overall really good driver. He's missing that tiny bit of joie de vivre to make him a top driver, like Alonso, Max Verstappen, and George Russell. But he's a really good driver. Okay, I'm going back to the chat because Jason is talking. Jason says, yeah, it's true. Just like how Norris is better than Verstappen. Yeah. Okay. We'll see about that tomorrow. Yeah. Either of them, the one who finishes higher is better than the other one. Okay. And Gentili says, I like the idea of Red Bull having two competitive drivers. I personally dislike that there are pay drivers. We want to see the biggest talents behind the wheel. Yes, and I was hoping that with the cost cap, the need for pay drivers would disappear because teams are starting to make profits now. But you still have Joe and Logan Sargent in the teams without having them performing really well. So hopefully this is something that changes into the future. But so far I've heard Christian Horner about upping the cost cap. He wants to go to 220 million, and then you'll see teams like Williams and Haas getting into problems again because they won't be able to keep up. So I hope Ben Sulayem and his friends at the FIA don't agree with that. Okay, and the next comment is, and Sainz is better than Perez, therefore Sainz is better than Bottas, which according to F1 Twitter means Sainz is better than Hamilton. Yes, but if you keep following all that logic, yeah, then yeah, you're gonna come out on top of things properly. You just have to connect all the dots. You know, Max Verstappen beating Perez was because they gave Max preferential treatment, but Bottas having to give up race wins or do extra fast laps, pitting one time extra. And in Mexico, that one time, he pitted twice to steal fastest lap of Verstappen. That doesn't matter. And then all the new engines they put on Bottas' car, yeah, that doesn't matter either, But now Russell is doing a little bit better than Hamilton. Hamilton's getting sabotaged. And the reactions are so toxic that Toto Wolff has got the police involved. So this anonymous emailer, yeah, he's going to be really worried because he has the Austrian police on his roof, knocking on his door. Oh, Jason says, wait, I need to check my maths. And he says, Gentilis, yeah, I really wish they'd signed Sainz. Yeah, and Jason says, deal. Whoever wins tomorrow or beats the other driver is better. I'm clipping that. And there's Windmolenjongen. Hello, sir. How the hell are you? But driver salaries are not part of the cost cap. No, but I wasn't talking about the driver salaries. We were talking about how some drivers bring in 30 million worth of sponsors, and that's why they're attractive to a team like Stake, and therefore a mid driver like Joe has a contract for years. Although I think he might be out next season. Or no, I think Haas is going to hire him because Gene Haas loves money. And he's still waiting on that money from William Story from the Rich Energy debacle. And I read today that Gene Haas has to pay Dmitry Mazepin $14 million. Or is it $17 million? Because, they dropped Mazepin, or the sponsorship with Mazepin in 2022. And, that wasn't legal, so he has to pay up. Windmolen says, so what are pay drivers? I understand, but that's the offset. Yeah, you get it now, don't you? Okay, so what else did I have prepared? I actually I'm through it already. Is there more questions? You want to talk about tomorrow? I think tomorrow, with that long straight, Max is going to stay in Norris's slipstream. He's going to take a risky move, and because Norris and Verstappen are friends, Norris is going to keep him alive, and Verstappen is going to be leading. And then when Verstappen is leading and his car is in the free air, he's going to pull a gap of 8-9 seconds, which will give him the luxury of deciding when he does the pit stops. And then towards the end of the race, when the McLaren tires, because the McLaren car is better on the tires, have more life in them, then Norris is going to get closer and closer and closer. And just before the finish, they'll have a little fight, but Max will fight him off. And Norris will have a little wobble. And Max will win. Norris P2. And Leclerc P3. And the two Mercedes drivers, they're going to drop off big time. That's what I'm thinking about the race tomorrow. But it's going to be an exciting race. Jason says, let's talk about Norris win. You can do that on your own stream, Jason. Because Norris is going to be P2. And Gentile says, I haven't watched FP. What is the race pace simulations? Yeah, Red Bull was fast in the race pace simulations. But all the cars are good. They all seemed very stable and decent. And Jason says, or Norris will take Verstappen out and Hamilton wins. Reverse 2016. Oh my god. The vibes when that happens. It'll be great for content. I'll probably push out Lewis Hamilton broke the 300 race curse video. And Gentile says pressure will be on Norris, so let's see how he copes. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I said that in my latest video as well. That oh no, in the video I just wrote. But those young drivers like Norris and Leclerc and Norris, they've had opportunities to win races and then ruined it by making mistakes. And I've seen Verstappen make loads of mistakes when he was 18, 19, 20. But I've never seen him throw away a proper win. Well, maybe Brazil. Brazil 2018, he should have been more careful with Ocon, knowing he was faster than Ocon anyway. So, yeah, in unlapping or lapping Ocon after he tried to unlap himself, he should have been more careful and he would have had that win. But that's one time. And Gentile says, and through goes Hamilton. Yeah, Russell in Canada. And Russell in Singapore. And then, what do you call him? Norris in Sochi. I still think that was a mistake of his own. Because a driver knows how wet the track is. And the team knows how much rain there's still to come. So, Jason says, it'd be even better if Hamilton gets dropped for Kimi Antonelli and Kimi wins tomorrow, just for the crack. Yeah. Oh my god. Team LH is gonna hate Kimi so much. You know, if Kimi comes in and he starts getting podium and starts out qualifying Russell just out of the blue, bit like Max did with Daniel Ricciardo. Oh my lord. That would be great for content as well. And Jason says, at Gentiles, I think Norris now will be a bit more careful in lap 1 after getting the win monkey off his back. But we'll see tomorrow, though. Yeah, we're definitely going to see everything unfold tomorrow. And then next week is Austria, and the week after that is... What's the race after that? Silverstone? No. Austria. Oh yeah, Silverstone. Nice. That's one of the tracks I really want to go to still. There are tickets available for Silverstone. Who wants to go to Silverstone with me? Um, Gentili says, at Wheel Sports, I don't think one win is enough. I think there will still be pressure until he gets more wins. Like Max, he is so calm because he's been in this situation so many times. And Wheel Sports says he'll still want to win, but I think the absurd lunges, etc., I think he'll dial it out. It's more that he's got a car to fight for the wins most weekends. Yeah. Yeah, Norris doesn't have to force himself all that much anymore because that McLaren package is really really good. And, it's stable and it's fast. So Win Mullen says, so what's the crack on the RB18 versus RB20 comparison runs at Imola? What I've heard about that is just tire tests, and they don't do that for a driver. They don't do it for the team. They just do it for Pirelli. At least that's what I heard. Anthony Davidson say at one of the free practices yesterday or today. But like I said, I'm not a technical YouTuber, so yeah, testing data and upgrades and stuff, it's all abracadabra for me. I do listen to it and I nod, but I usually drift off. Jason says Max was constantly in the third fastest car and had to be really aggressive to win. So I think it's different. Yeah. Samantha says Silverstone. Samantha, don't order tickets when I say this. It's too expensive. We've got a new kitchen. Maybe discounted now thanks to that naughty Maxi. Yeah. Well, no, there's no discounts for Silverstone. Actually, Silverstone is struggling to sell their tickets because they had this system where closer to the date, the prices go up, thinking that the demand would rise. But yeah, they're struggling to sell all the tickets now. Also, because a lot of English people say, there's no English people winning, so I'm not going. Then again, Norris could win in Silverstone. That'd be nice too, to see Lando Norris win in Silverstone. Is it Silverstone or is it Silverstone? That's a good debate as well. Oh, Windmolen is going to Silverstone. Very nice. Lucky you. It's pretty much the holy grail of F1, isn't it? You know? Didn't it start there in 1950? And Samantha says he would let me have a pink kitchen. Let's have this discussion in private, Samantha. So anyway, I've been ranting for nearly 45 minutes. If anybody has anything to say before I log out, then please say it now. In any case, I wish you all a really, really great race tomorrow. And I've written one of my best videos so far. It's a sort of a race review, but then from Mac's perspective, and it's going to be about 12 minutes. And I was writing it, and I was reading it back today, and I got goosebumps. That's how good the video is. Okay, Jason says they wanted a reference to the RB18 for comparison in feeling by Verstappen in order to see if there was a fundamental issue with the RB20 in feeling. And the RB19 couldn't be used because it has to be the 2-year-old chassis. Okay. So, but are teams allowed to do this? These secret tests whenever they want? I don't understand how that goes. Like, there's filming days, there's Pirelli testing days, and then there's testing with old cars, or is it all in one? Can someone explain, please? Yeah, Wheel Sport says, with feeling, I mean balance, basically. Yeah. Okay. Hey, and that's probably a pretty costly thing to do. Is that in the budget cap? If it's probably going off your budget. And there's Outlaw F1. When Lewis won, the English came to Silverstone and were able to raise the price. And now that Max wins, the prices are too high for most English people, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, I think we shouldn't discount what Brexit has done to the UK economy. I do business with Northern Ireland, and they get away with it because of the Good Friday Agreement in 1999. The borders are still half open, and a lot of UK businesses moved to Northern Ireland because the rules are more open there. You know, my stuff, I sell flowers to Northern Ireland. Um, the only thing I had to do is change the VIT number, or the I had to put an I in front of the number, and just gets cleared straight away. Whereas stuff that needs to be in England that gets stopped at the border. But anyway, the economy in the years before the Brexit was organized got a big hit, and then during Brexit, yeah, well, the Brexit is going on now, and the economy has gone down so much. Inflation is high, so if you're charging £480 for a 3 day ticket for Silverstone, then obviously people are not going to be able to pay for that because yeah, they've got electric bills and petrol is expensive, and getting anything done in the UK is just really really expensive now. So um, let me see. Jason says, which they do all of the time to prep young drivers, etc. But they can also use it for whatever else they want. And everybody's saying hi to Outlaw F1. And Jason says, as far as I know, it's in the cap with current drivers, but I think it's an exception for trading young drivers. And Jason says, sorry, no, I'm wrong. Norris won't win tomorrow. No, no, no. I'm glad you're coming to your senses. You can run a 2-year-old chassis outside of the cost cap whenever you want. And Windmolen Jonge says, my take, there's something a bit adrift in the RB20. We'll need to see when the planned Barcelona updates come in at Silverstone, but the car is being taken by the scruff of the neck by Max Verstappen at the minute. And Jason says, however, if you put current parts on an old chassis, it's against the regulations, or try use it to test current performance, it would be against the regs in the cap. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I read a short interview with Max today, and he's complaining a little that Red Bull hasn't been completely on top of things in the last 4 or 5 weekends, and uh, yeah, it wasn't a really good Friday yesterday either. With everything they had to do and had to fix. So yeah, everything's getting tighter, and last year if they had a scruffy free practice session or two on Friday, and on Saturday they improved a bit, then they were still half a tenth quicker than everybody else. And nowadays, they get out qualified. But I still have good hope for tomorrow because the race pace was good, and Red Bull in previous years have been really good at setting up the car for the race more than qualifying. So maybe it's even quite a good performance of Max to put that car in P2. Um, so let's go back to the chat. Jason says, with Molejongen, I think personally it's just a case of McLaren and Ferrari being so close that Red Bull are stuck in a really small performance window. Yeah, that's what I think too. And Richard says, there's already progress in the updates. Perez made it out of Q1. Yes, he made it into Q3. So the car's getting better. But then again, there were no high curbs here, so. And Vin Molen says, agreed, Wheel Sports, and they can't get out of it. And Jane says, yeah, exactly. And Gentile says, it might also be the fact that Red Bull isn't fastest anymore and that any issue will be more prevalent. Very beautiful spoken, Richard. But yeah, we're pretty much all saying the same thing, that, you know, they need to perform at such a high level that every tiny little minuscule thing that goes wrong, you know, you get caught out. And Outlaw says, tomorrow will be exciting. I think the fight between Lewis and Russell will be interesting. So yeah, where's Russell starting? Is he P4? Or is that Sainz? But yeah, Lewis and Russell, they're always fighting. They barely work together. And Jason says, Gentilis, I think in most tracks it's the fastest, but within a tenth. So any small issue with that performance window is the second fastest. Hence Verstappen's issue in free practice, etc. So basically, I agree with a caveat. Haha. Yeah. Okay. Right, people. I'm going to have my dessert soon. Unless there's... there was a fire in the McLaren's hospitality center. So that's both Williams and McLaren fires now. And 2 Alpines in Q3. Yeah, but apparently Zach Brown was having a barbecue. And that's where all the smoke came from. Because he was roasting a whole pork. He was feeling peckish. You know, it happens. You know, he wanted that baby back ribs. And the McDonald's was closed. And Flavio has only been back 2 days. Yeah. Oh, that's something I want to touch upon. So, all the English content creators from the race and journalists, they're all having an aneurysm because Flavio, the fraud, has returned to Alpine. But a few months ago, Ron Dennis got knighted. Yeah. And nobody batted an eyelid. Now, in my opinion, Ron Dennis is just a bit as big a fraud as Flavio is. So, I don't want to always complain about British bias. But to protect Ron Dennis, after being involved in a fraud with £100 million penalty for it, or Flavio Briatore, you know, getting banned from the sport, and then the ban was lifted, so he was always allowed to come back into the sport. Coming back, and they make a big deal out of it. I don't agree with that. You know, either they're both criminals and they're all sacks of shit, and you know they shouldn't deserve respect, or they should both deserve respect for everything that they've done in Formula One. And I saw this brilliant documentary called Lucky about Bernie Ecclestone. And those early meetings with the team bosses was always with Flavio and Frank Williams and Ron Dennis. And those guys, they were the pioneers of F1. They made F1 to what it is now. And they were all trying to get a leg over on each other. You know, Colin Chapman as well. You know, any way they could cheat or get an advantage, they did it. So, yeah. Jason says Flavio is the king. Yeah. I hope he can shake things up by Alpine. And I have more trust in him than those actors that are sponsoring Alpine. And Windmolen says Dennis was knighted for donations to the Conservative Party, mate. Okay. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So he wasn't being knighted because he was such a good person. And Samantha is referencing to why Zach Brown blocked me. Comments like that is why he blocked you. Yeah, yeah. I once made a video where I compared Zach with a bag of shit because Zak in Dutch, the spelling ZAK means bag, and I made it into a bag of shit. And maybe his assistant seen it and said, "Oh fuck Wimbo, I'm gonna block him." So and the other day I made a really good joke about Zach Brown. I said, because he was at Le Mans, I said, Zach Brown lives, thinks, breathes, and eats motorsports. Mostly eats though. Okay, what else? Windmolenjongen says, anyways, it's going to be pissing down tomorrow, so this is all academic. I thought it was going to rain tonight, and that the track's going to be all green tomorrow with lots of sand on it. That's what Bernie Collins said. Bernie Collins from Northern Ireland. Jason says he's been back a day and both cars in Q3. Make Flavio team principal and they'll win the 2025 championship. Yes, they just need a different steering wheel with certain technology on it. And Windmolenjongen says nope. 126,000 per year. Okay, yeah, you're talking about Ron Dennis giving the Conservative Party loads of money, and that's why he got knighted. Okay. Ron Dennis was a regular in Private Eye. I don't know what that means. And Gentili says, I really don't understand why he should block you for that. No, I don't understand it either, Richard. But like I said, maybe it's his assistant, and yeah. Do you think Zach Brown is on his phone going, scrolling through Twitter? Nah, he probably has a person to do that. Samantha goes, badoom. Yeah, that's for the joke I just made. And Windmolenjongen is still talking about Ron Dennis, and it's not for motor racing. I posted the Spanish Met Office forecast in the chat, mate. Okay. I'm only saying what I've heard. Don't shoot the messenger. But we'll keep an eye on the weather. So, who's going to benefit if it rains tomorrow? Probably McLaren as well, because that car has really good downforce and is just a solid car. Anyway, if Max comes in second, I'll still think he's the best, Right, boys and girls, I want to thank you all for joining this live stream. It really got going in the end, so I like that. Keep an eye out on that race review from that certain race from 5 years ago. I think you're all gonna love it. I'm gonna pour my heart out in it, and I wish you all a really, really fun race tomorrow. And I'll probably see you all next week when I do another live stream. Right? Take care now. Do it.